Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm putting up, be sure to subscribe so you always know when a new video pops up. Now that we got that part out of the way, let's get into the video. Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with thousands of hours of content. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the major plot points for those of you who want to know more about Eorzea, but may not have time to experience it all firsthand. This time we're covering the Shadowbringers portion of the Dragoon storyline. After spending so long on the first, the Warrior of Light heads back to the source to see how all of his friends are doing. When you stop by to see Albrecht, the first thing he does is comment on the fact that as little as you stop by to check on him, Estinian comes by even less. And even Justine barely comes by, although she has made quite a name for herself as a hunter in Dravania. Something Albrecht learned from Ornkai, who shows up right when you start to talk about him. Seeing you again after so long, the dragon is curious to know what you've been up to. After you tell him a bit about your journey on the first, the part about the fallen warriors of darkness' souls lingering on, struggling to complete tasks that had been important to them in life, makes him think of Nidhogg, and how his desire for revenge hadn't left, even after he died. You did manage to give the fallen warriors of darkness peace, but Ornkai wonders if Nidhogg ever found that type of rest. Albrecht doesn't believe that he has, and even though he and the worm were mortal enemies, he believes that the dragon does at least deserve peace in death. Ornkai wants to give Nidhogg a proper send-off, much like you did for Etta Blackbosom ages ago, and knowing the true history of Nidhogg's eternal rage, you feel compelled to help him. Not being of Nidhogg's brood, Ornkai doesn't really know much about the dragon, so it'll be difficult to give him a proper funeral, but Fawn is living in Zenith, and she knew her father well. So you and the young dragon head off to ask her a few questions. Fawn is more than happy to tell you about her father, just to let you know that there was far more to him than what you saw while you fought. Nidhogg prided himself on being the strongest, and he had never wanted to get involved with mortals anyway. He thought they were small and insignificant. But Ratatoskr wanted humans and dragons to live in harmony. King Thornton, in an attempt to find a way to get into Nidhogg's good graces, asked his sister what the dragon thought of the mortals. In truth, Nidhogg thought they were too weak to protect the world from outside threats, making them too useless to be allies. Thornton saw this as an insult and began to believe that the dragons would take over the world and dominate the mortals. I mean, a stupid thought when you really think about it. If the dragons see you as useless allies, you'd make even worse slaves, but Thornton decided it was for the best for him to claim the dragon's power for himself. So he stole Ratatoskr's eyes, the source of a dragon's power, and killed her. Nidhogg was not happy about this, and his rage and hatred for all mortals grew out of control. But can you blame him? You don't go out of your way to kill ants until they start coming in your house. Once they cross that line, you kill every one of them on your property to make sure they don't ever bite you again. And mortals were ants to Nidhogg, ants that had murdered his sister. Not every dragon agreed with him, however, and Fawn is grateful that eventually you came along and reforged the alliance between dragons and men that Ratatoskr had wanted. Ornkai intends to make sure that his descendants keep that bond alive by letting them know the true history of both of their peoples, of the failings of both the mortals and Nidhogg, and how the great dragon wasn't a monster, but someone who retaliated against those who had murdered someone he had cared about. To help Ornkai with his funeral, Fawn lets him know that Nidhogg had adored the scent of mist lilies, and they will make a good offering to the fallen dragon. He knows a place where those exact flowers bloom, and you go and gather a few. All that's left is to decide where to lay them. After a bit of thought, Ornkai decides that Girabania will be the best place since it's where you took down Shinryu, the primal born from Nidhogg's eyes, a story I will cover another time. Together, the two of you go to the Royal Menagerie and pay your final respects to the fallen dragon, putting Nidhogg's soul to rest, and finally bringing the Dragon Song War to an end. This concludes the story of the Dragoon, at least for now. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.